Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. And this is where I think there is such a wild double standard for LeBron compared to other contemporary stars. Since LeBron's been with the Lakers, only the Celtics have the Lakers clearly beat in team success. No team's won more rings, no team's been to more finals. The Lakers are then tied for second with a bunch of other teams on been to one finals, won one championship. OKC obviously in a month might eclipse them. Has Jokic's career with Denver been a success? Has Giannis's career with Milwaukee been a success? I'm purely talking about the team success. This is LeBron with the Lakers versus Joker, who's been with the Nuggets for 11 years. Giannis has been with the Bucks for 13 years.
The NBA media has a LeBron James problem. And the problem is, they cannot stop. Every highlight, every rumor, every retirement whisper gets a full production. And it is not because they love the man. It is because they love what he does to their bank account. That is the conversation nobody on ESPN wants to have out loud. Be honest in the comments. Do you actually trust what the mainstream sports media tells you about LeBron James? Or have you stopped believing them a long time ago?
Have the Lakers taken LeBron James for granted? Sure, you can make that argument. But let's put it where the GOATs can get a big perk. They don't particularly like him. That's what this is about more so than anything else. They'll never admit that. You understand what I'm saying? I'm saying there's denials all over the place just as I said that statement. Oh my God, I know that Stephen A. didn't just say that. Perk, I'm gonna lean on you, who's been doing a great job covering the NBA all of these years, and obviously you're incredibly connected. You know that Clutch Sports, Rich Paul, and obviously by extension, LeBron James has turned them off. When they made the trade for Russell Westbrook that ended up being disastrous, you understand, they felt like LeBron wasn't accepting accountability. When there were narratives put out there that the organization was the issue and not LeBron James, they knew it wasn't them putting that stuff out there. You and I have talked about this. Most NBA analysts talked about this because what have we lamented over the years? As great as he is, LeBron James is on the Mount Rushmore of basketball, one of the greatest players to have ever lived. He's also one of the greatest manipulator of narratives we've ever seen.
Let's just get right into it and say the thing that should have been said a long time ago. The NBA media does not cover LeBron James because they are committed to telling you the truth. They cover him because he is worth covering, financially. Every segment, every debate, every dramatic retirement update generates clicks, ad revenue, and ratings. And once you understand that, everything you have ever seen from ESPN and the rest of the mainstream sports media suddenly starts making a lot more sense. This is not a conspiracy. It does not need to be. Nobody is passing envelopes under the table. Nobody is writing anything shady on a napkin in a back room somewhere. It is just business. And business has one rule. You protect what makes you money. LeBron James makes them money. So they protect LeBron James. Simple, clean, completely legal. And that is exactly what makes it so effective.
A factor.
Think about where LeBron reportedly is right now in his career. There is a real question about whether he plays another season, where he plays if he does, and what his body can actually still do at this level. Those are legitimate basketball questions. But the way the media has been handling it is not journalism. It is salesmanship. The framing around his conditioning has been glowing. His Lakers tenure has been called wildly successful by people like Broussard and Wright. The coverage reads less like reporters giving you information and more like a promotional campaign trying to convince a guy to re-sign his contract. And in a very real way, that is exactly what it is. ESPN needs LeBron to come back. The NBA needs LeBron to come back. And when you need something from someone, you are very careful about how you talk about them publicly.
But I think all the media spin on him being so great and still in such great shape and, great conditioning and, them talking about the Los Angeles Lakers stint being wildly successful, as Broussard and Wright had mentioned, is just ridiculous. But it also supposed to serve a purpose. And the purpose that I think it's supposed to serve is ESPN, on behalf of the NBA, is trying to woo LeBron back in for another season. Doesn't matter who he plays with. But yes, he draws a crowd. The drama and the circus that he brings in draws a crowd. ESPN making a lot of money from, talking about him, and advertisers, paying for it and all that other stuff. So they need him. If he's
Here is how the math works. LeBron James on any given night, whether he plays well or plays badly, brings in viewers. His fans watch because they want to see him succeed. The people who cannot stand him watch because they want to see him fail or get called out. Both groups are sitting in front of the screen. Both groups are seeing the same advertisers. The network does not care which camp you are in. They just need both camps tuned in. And LeBron delivers both camps every single time. An average player who gets 15 points a game does not do that. A declining veteran grinding through another season does not do that. But LeBron James getting 15 points a game, throwing in a dunk or two, still making highlight plays? That does it. Even a version of him that is clearly not what he once was, still moves the needle in a way almost nobody else in the league can match. That is the value the media is protecting, not the man. The number he represents on a spreadsheet.
So it's not only that they're going for their interest to promote the NBA and promote him, but they also want him to come back. If they could get him to come back and play another 5 years at a decent level, they would love that, because he draws attention, he draws advertisers, he draws money, and they love it. Even if he has a season or two that he plays and he's freaking averaging 15 points a game, but he gets a dunk here, he gets a dunk there, and a highlight here and a highlight there, it draws attention, man. ESPN and the media is addicted to it.
Now let's pull back from basketball entirely for a second and look at a very clear example of this exact same machine working in a different context. Think about what the media did with Trump across 2 different presidential terms. When Trump first came into office in 2016, every network, whether they were for him or against him, had a full news cycle that never stopped. It was nonstop content. It generated enormous viewership. People who loved him were watching. People who despised him were watching. The ratings were off the charts. Then, when he left office and Biden came in, the cycle slowed down. The number of eyeballs watching dropped noticeably, not because Biden was doing a bad job or a good job, but because he was not the same kind of content engine. He did not generate the same emotional reaction from every direction at once. The moment Trump returned, the machine came back to life immediately, and every network, regardless of their editorial position, was covering him wall to wall again. Why? Because it worked. Because eyeballs came back. Because money followed the eyeballs. That is the same exact playbook the sports media uses with LeBron. Love him or hate him, you are watching. And the moment you are watching, the advertisers are paying. That is the whole game.
If the Lakers were not successful with LeBron, then what we're saying is in the last 8 years in the NBA, only the Celtics have been successful. Or maybe not them. Maybe nobody's been successful.
But the reason there's a double standard is he's LeBron. I'm not gonna say he wasn't successful. He was wildly successful with the Lakers. So I'm agreeing with you on that. But I'm just saying, yes, that's a compliment to LeBron that there's a double standard. I'm not comparing you to freaking Nikola Jokic, as great as he is. I'm comparing you to Michael Jordan, yourself, Kareem, Matt, guys like that. So there's a double standard, yes. But I agree with you, it was wildly successful. I said before he went to LA, if you go there, you got to win a championship. He did.
So when Chris Broussard calls the Lakers' run wildly successful, he is not doing bad analysis by accident. He is doing what the environment around him rewards. The narrative that LeBron's tenure in LA was a roaring success keeps the story clean and attractive. It keeps the legend intact. It makes the prospect of him continuing to play appealing.
Because if the coverage were honest about the full picture, about the seasons where results did not match expectations, about the years where the championship did not come, then the hype machine starts to sputter. And a sputtering hype machine is bad for ratings. So instead of the full picture, you get the polished version, the version that keeps LeBron's brand strong, keeps the drama alive, and keeps people engaged enough to tune in next season. What makes this work so well is that it is entirely incentive-based. Nobody is ordering anyone to say anything specific. Nobody has a signed agreement that says, protect LeBron at all costs or lose your slot. It is much quieter than that. You say the things that fit the narrative, your content gets pushed. Advertisers find their way to your platform. Business picks up. You say the things that go against the narrative, your access shrinks. The guests stop coming. The partnerships dry up without anyone ever saying directly why. It is a system that runs itself because everyone in it understands the incentives without anyone having to explain them out loud. And no one is going to find a document exposing it because there is no document. It lives entirely in the unspoken understanding that you do not bite the hand that keeps you fed. This also explains why the media has been so vocal about wanting LeBron back. Think about what another season of LeBron James does for ESPN, for sports talk radio, for every podcast that covers the NBA. Even if he plays a reduced role, even if the numbers are not what they once were, the circus around him, where he plays, who he plays with, how he performs, whether Bronny is his teammate, whether this is finally the last ride, that storyline alone is worth millions in generated content. You do not need him to be dominant to make money off him. You just need him to be there. And the more the media tells him how great he still is and how his recent run has been a success story, the more they are nudging him towards signing that next contract. It is a recruitment pitch dressed up as sports coverage. And now, let's talk about what happens when outside voices start pushing back, because that is the other layer of this conversation that matters. The growth of independent sports media, YouTube channels, podcasts not attached to networks, commentators who are not beholden to access or advertising deals, has started to chip away at the mainstream narrative. When the mainstream tells you the Lakers' run was wildly successful, and then you watch a 40-minute breakdown showing you the actual numbers and the context, the mainstream version starts looking shaky. When enough people see enough of those breakdowns, the trust in the polished version erodes. And the mainstream media knows it. You can see it in the way they sometimes walk coverage back, the way the framing shifts slightly when enough pushback builds. They are not immune to it. They are aware that they can only push a narrative so far before enough people are calling it out loudly enough to make it a problem. There is also something interesting happening with some of the larger independent platforms. Shows that started as genuine basketball conversations, no agenda, no outside influence, just people talking ball honestly, some of them have slowly drifted. The tentacles of larger sports management companies and sponsorship structures have a way of making their way into shows that got big enough to be worth influencing. You do not always notice it happening right away, but over time, you start hearing certain names brought up in ways they were not before. Certain narratives start sounding familiar in ways that rhyme with the mainstream version, and you have to start asking who is now in the room that was not in the room before, and what they brought with them when they came in. That does not mean every show that has grown is compromised. It means the pressure exists, and it is real. And the shows that stay honest are the ones doing it while resisting a very real financial pull in the opposite direction. Which is why the pushback community matters. Not because independent voices are always right about everything, they are not, but because having people in the conversation who are not financially tied to any particular outcome keeps the whole space more honest than it would be otherwise. It is not a perfect system, but it is better than having only one version of events. Here is the broader thing that all of this points toward. Sports media, like all media right now, is not primarily in the business of informing you. It is in the business of keeping you engaged long enough to see an advertisement. That is it. That is the whole economic structure underneath all of it. And once you understand that, you can watch any broadcast or read any take with a different set of eyes. You ask not, "Is this true?" first. You ask, "Why are they telling me this?"
And with LeBron James coverage specifically, that second question almost always leads you to the same place. Because he is the most monetizable story in the sport, he has been for years, and whether he plays next season or not, the machinery around him is going to run. The coverage is going to exist. The drama is going to be produced, because that is what the machine needs to keep going. The day LeBron actually retires for good and stays retired, that first week of coverage will be enormous. And then it will slowly fade. and someone else will have to fill that role. And the media will start doing to that next person what they have been doing to LeBron for the past decade, protecting the investment, feeding the narrative that keeps people watching, making sure the story stays attractive enough that both the fans and the critics cannot look away. That is not unique to LeBron, but right now he is the clearest example of it running at full speed in real time. Sports media is not broken. It is working exactly as designed. The design just does not have your understanding of the game as its priority. It has your attention as its product. And LeBron James is the most effective vehicle they have ever found for getting it. So next time ESPN tells you LeBron's run was a massive success, just remember, they need him back. Their ratings need him back. Their advertisers need him back. This was never really about basketball. It was always about the check. If this hit different for you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop your thoughts below.